Is the mystery solved in the skies over the Big Apple? Some unidentified white objects flying high above Manhattan left lots of people puzzled.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The 2010 incident over Manhattan left many New Yorkers staring into the sky, wondering if they were witnessing something extraordinary.
Here in New York City, a sighting that had even jaded New Yorkers scratching their heads. A mysterious silver shiny object, or objects it seems, floating in the sky yesterday. You could see all the people stopped on the street there in their tracks looking at it. Some folks say they saw lights. Others were maybe waiting for little green men to arrive.
Several unidentified white objects were seen drifting above the city, sparking speculation that UFOs had made an appearance over the Big Apple. The mystery quickly caught attention, with puzzled residents recording the unusual sight and sharing their questions. However, the possible explanation may be far less otherworldly. Teachers at the Milestone School in Westchester County believe they were responsible.
If you believe in UFOs, so be it, but I believe in balloons. I just knew.
But you have no proof.
No, I don't have proof, but you know what? We don't have proof about a lot of things in life.
According to the school's founder, nearly 4 dozen balloons were accidentally released during preparations for an engagement party for one of the teachers. She expressed certainty that these balloons were the same objects spotted in the skies over Manhattan.
I think anything's possible. It's just as likely as it was my balloons as it is a UFO. I have no idea.
Still, when asked for proof, she admitted she had none, pointing out that many things in life are accepted without concrete evidence. The newly engaged teacher, who was the reason for the celebration, remains unconvinced. She said she had no way of knowing for sure whether the balloons were indeed what New Yorkers saw, suggesting that both explanations, balloons or UFOs, were equally possible. On the streets of Manhattan, some New Yorkers joked about looking for a mothership.
I don't know.
You don't want to say
I'm looking for the mothership.
Reflecting the mix of skepticism and amusement surrounding the event. People began paying close attention to odd things in the sky after a single famous report in 1947. A private pilot named Kenneth Arnold said he saw 9 fast shiny objects near Mount Rainier. He estimated their speed at over 1,000 miles per hour and described their motion in a way that a reporter later turned into the phrase, flying saucer. That phrase stuck and changed how many Americans thought about unexplained sightings. That single report did not create all later sightings. The 1947 event simply gave the public a name and an image to use when people later saw lights or fast objects. News coverage after Arnold's sighting spread the idea that the sky might hold something unknown. Between the press, science fiction in film and books, and everyday people telling their stories, this topic moved from a handful of reports into a national conversation. 2 forces kept the conversation alive. One was entertainment. Movies and TV in the 1950s used alien and UFO themes a lot. Films like The Day the Earth Stood Still and later franchises like Avatar and A Quiet Place gave vivid images of otherworldly visitors. Those images made it easy for people to fit their own experiences into a familiar frame. The second force was government activity. Over the years, different government projects and reports touched this subject. Some of those actions suggested that the government took certain sightings seriously enough to study them. That raised questions for the public. The government did run a program from 2007 to 2012 that focused on unidentified aerial issues. The program had limited funding but got attention when journalists reported on it in 2017. That reporting included video clips and interviews. Those items pushed the subject from fringe stories into mainstream reporting. After that, the Department of Defense and other agencies made a few public moves like confirming the authenticity of select naval videos. Those steps did not answer the big questions. Instead, they created a new set of questions about what the government saw, what it recorded, and how much it would share. Public interest rose for other reasons too. In recent years, people have worried more about national security. Events like foreign surveillance, spy balloons, and the increased number of private satellites in low orbit changed how people interpret odd lights and fast-moving dots in the sky. With more devices in orbit and more focus on security, the number of submitted reports grew. That growth has made the topic harder to ignore. In some cases, ordinary objects such as balloons, drones, or satellites get mistaken for something unusual. In other cases, people record incidents that remain unexplained after initial checks. National reporting centres collect those accounts and publish tallies that researchers and journalists use to track trends. Because of the mix of culture, government activity, and new technology, the subject now rests in the middle of several public systems. Journalists write about sightings. Scientific teams try to analyse what was recorded. Government offices create reports and summaries. Volunteer groups gather witness accounts. Each of these groups has its own standards. Journalists may focus on new, compelling stories. Scientists ask for data that can be measured and reproduced. Government bodies look at possible threats to flight safety or intelligence. Volunteer centres focus on receiving and archiving reports. The result is a conversation with many voices, but still no single, clear answer that everyone accepts. When researchers try to understand sightings, they begin with data sources. A common public source is the National UFO Reporting Centre. That group has received and catalogued thousands of reports from across the United States. The centre posts reports, dates, and location details that help people track trends. Because it accepts public submissions, the number of cases reported to this centre can rise or fall with news cycles and public interest. Still, the archive gives researchers a large sample to study. Stacker, the site that compiled a recent list, used the National UFO Reporting Centre database to rank New York cities by total reports since 1995 list shows boroughs and cities with different tallies. Those counts reflect the number of submitted reports tied to an area, not verified sightings. The Stacker list places Brooklyn and New York City at the top in New York, followed by Buffalo, Rochester, and others. The list gives readers a quick view of where people are reporting sightings most often in that state. If a metro area has more reported incidents, that could be due to population size, public interest, dark skies, or other local factors. It is important to separate raw report counts from confirmed events. Reports are useful because they show where and when people report odd observations. But a higher number of reports does not automatically mean more unexplained technology is present. A big city with many residents will usually produce more reports. A rural area with clear night skies may also produce a high number of credible observations. The raw data therefore needs context. Researchers look at local factors like population, sky clarity, military activity nearby, and common flight paths to interpret the numbers. The Stacker piece listed specific numbers. For example, it showed Brooklyn with hundreds of reports and quoted other boroughs and cities with counts in the dozens or hundreds. Those figures reflect public submissions recorded by the reporting centre. If a reader wants to dig deeper, the original database entries include witness descriptions, time of day, and sometimes photos. That level of detail matters when investigators try to find a matching explanation, like a balloon or a known aircraft. Another source of data comes from government reports. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a preliminary assessment in 2021 that summarized a set of military and defense reports. That document listed a number of encounters the military could not immediately explain and noted that some incidents showed unusual motion or sensor readings. The report stressed that available data often lacked precision or volume, making firm conclusions hard to reach. Still, the assessment acknowledged that a limited set of observations showed anomalous movement or behaviour. Those items continue to be a focus of follow-up investigations. In addition to the preliminary ODNI report, other official work has continued. The Department of Defense set up offices to collect and analyze anomalous reports and produced consolidated annual reports. Those documents record hundreds of submissions over specific reporting periods. For example, the consolidated annual reports detailed a range of incidents across a year and tracked how many of those were still under review. Those official numbers are different from public reporting centres in that they come from military and intelligence sources and often include incidents seen by trained observers and recorded on military sensors. When researchers compare public submitted reports to official records, they find some overlap and some divergence. Some public reports match items logged by military units. Other times, public reports record local events that never entered official military logs. Both kinds of records matter for different reasons. Public databases show where people are looking up and reporting what they see. Official logs may include sensor data, pilot accounts, and radar returns that offer more technical detail. Combining these records gives a fuller picture and helps investigators look for patterns. People often ask whether sighting counts are rising. The short answer is that reported sightings vary over time. Some years show spikes tied to news events, such as when a major outlet publishes a new story or when a declassified video circulates widely. Other months show lower activity. The reporting centres publish monthly summaries that make these trends visible. For example, some months in 2024 and 2025 recorded several hundred reports in a single month across the entire NUFORC database. That kind of variation suggests reporting behaviour is affected by both real events and public attention. Over the past 2 decades, several government offices and programs have addressed unidentified aerial issues. Some of those efforts were secret or limited in scope. Others were public and aimed at improving reporting and analysis. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which ran from 2007 to 2012, received press attention after journalists reported on it in 2017. The program's funding was relatively small compared to overall defence budgets, but its existence signalled official interest in anomalous aerial reports. That media coverage also sparked additional public records requests and congressional questions. In 2020 and 2021, several notable public steps happened. The Department of Defense confirmed the authenticity of a few naval videos that had been circulating online. Those clips, often referred to by names like FLIR1, GIMBAL, and GOFAST, show infrared footage captured by naval aircraft. The DoD later released statements that the videos are genuine and that the objects remain unexplained in those clips. The official confirmation renewed public interest and pushed legislators to demand clearer processes for reporting and investigating such incidents. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence issued a preliminary assessment to Congress in June 2021. That short report reviewed a sample of documented incidents and noted that most lacked sufficient data to reach firm conclusions. It did, however, highlight a number of cases where observed motion or sensor data appeared unusual. The document called for better data collection and for more resources to analyse incidents that might pose a safety risk or an intelligence concern. This report was significant because it came from the intelligence community and aimed to set a baseline for future work. Congress began to hold hearings where witnesses, including former pilots and intelligence officers, spoke about encounters and program records. Those hearings mixed detailed first-person accounts with skepticism and demands for records. Lawmakers asked the Pentagon to be clearer about what it knew and what files it held. Some members proposed legislation that would require more open reporting by defense agencies. Those hearings made the subject part of the official record and provided a formal channel for whistleblowers and experts to make public statements. One effect was to move the conversation from fringe media into mainstream oversight. At the same time, some Pentagon offices tried to create a more formal structure for collecting incidents. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office and similar task forces aim to standardize how reports were logged, stored, and analyzed. These offices tried to produce consolidated reports that summarized the number of incidents and how many remained unexplained. Their goal was practical: improve air safety and determine whether any incidents represented foreign technology or other threats. When those officers released findings, they often said current evidence did not show clear signs of non-human technology. But they also said many incidents remain uncharacterized and require better data. There have also been public disputes inside this space. Some former program officials publicly argued that the government possessed materials or data that were not being shared. Others, including some who led official investigative offices, concluded their work found no compelling evidence of extraterrestrial origin. That difference in public statements created confusion and fueled debate among journalists and enthusiasts. In plain terms, different people with different roles have seen different pieces of the puzzle. Those pieces sometimes fit together, and other times they conflict. When they conflict, the public and lawmakers ask for more transparency. The net result of the government actions is a mixed record. On one hand, the government has acknowledged earlier programs, confirmed certain videos as genuine, and published preliminary reports. On the other hand, the most widely cited official reports do not offer solid proof of non-human craft, and many incidents remain open. Officials consistently call for clearer data, more sensors, and standardized reporting. That request for better information is a practical step. It recognizes that high-quality data is needed before making extraordinary claims. Scientists approach the subject differently than journalists or enthusiasts. Their core requirement is testable data. That means recorded measurements that others can analyze, reproduce, and check. Eyewitness accounts and phone videos are often helpful as leads. But to move from a report to a scientific conclusion, researchers want multiple, independent data streams: radar returns, multi-angle video, instrument logs, recovered materials, and controlled experiments. Without that level of evidence, the scientific process cannot confirm extraordinary claims. The 2021 preliminary assessment from the intelligence community made a point about this need. It said that many incidents lack the kind of consistent, high-quality data that scientists prefer. The report noted that a number of recorded events showed unusual motion or sensor readings. Yet because the data sets were small and sometimes inconsistent, the report could not confidently explain those items. That is why the report called for improved data collection that is standardized and testable. Skeptics often note how common misidentification can be. People see unfamiliar shapes or lights and describe them in the terms they know. Atmospheric effects, reflections, balloons, drones, and aircraft can all appear strange under certain conditions. Sensor systems can also fail or produce confusing outputs. For example, radar returns can be affected by ground clutter or electronic interference. Infrared cameras can show heat signatures that are hard to interpret. In other words, both human perception and instrument limits can create puzzling data. That makes careful analysis essential. At the same time, scientists keep an open mind. They do not dismiss unexplained reports out of hand. A properly documented anomaly is of interest precisely because it falls outside expected patterns. The work then becomes a process. Collect more data, rule out known causes, and repeat. If a case resists standard explanations after rigorous testing, researchers may then consider less familiar hypotheses. But scientists require controlled, repeatable evidence before accepting dramatic conclusions. That discipline protects science from false positives and from the influence of wishful thinking. Some researchers call for new monitoring systems designed for this subject. Rather than rely on casual phone videos, they propose networks of synchronized cameras, radar arrays, and dedicated sensors that can record an event from multiple independent angles. Those systems could provide time-stamped, calibrated data that can be cross-checked. Government offices and academic groups have discussed investing in such infrastructure. NASA and other agencies have suggested ways to collect more precise UAP data to allow better scientific use. The idea is that better instruments lead to clearer conclusions. Another scientific challenge is sharing data. When military sensors record an anomaly, that footage and data often sit inside secure systems. For national security, some material cannot be released in full. That creates friction. Scientists ask for access to raw, unredacted data so they can test hypotheses. Defense offices must balance that demand with genuine security concerns. Finding a workable path means creating secure ways to share data with vetted researchers or to release sanitized records that still allow independent analysis. The tension between transparency and security is a central issue in how research can move forward. There is also a social angle to scientific work here. Researchers are wary of being associated with claims that later prove wrong. That fear can slow academic engagement. Yet some scientists have stepped into the question precisely because the potential implications are large. If a single, well-documented case showed clear evidence of an unknown propulsion method or material, that would be a major scientific event. Most researchers say they are ready to examine evidence carefully. The real barrier is not curiosity, but the lack of reliable shared data. For the public, the topic raises several questions. People ask whether any sightings prove life beyond Earth, whether governments hide evidence, and whether the phenomenon is a real threat. The short answers are cautious. No public, verifiable proof of extraterrestrial visitors exists as of the latest consolidated public reports. Government programs have investigated reports. Some videos and sensor data remain unexplained. But unexplained does not equal extraterrestrial. It simply means more data is needed. Transparency matters because it affects trust. When officials confirm a video or report, people assume it is strong evidence. When documents remain withheld, some members of the public fill the gap with speculation. That dynamic drives further attention and more reporting. Congress, scientists, and media organizations all recognize that building trust requires clear methods for collecting and sharing data when possible. Proposals to standardize reporting and to provide vetted access to researchers aim to reduce mystery by improving the quality of available information. Another public concern is safety. Some officials have framed selected sightings as potential flight safety issues. Fast-moving, unidentified objects near commercial flight paths can present real risks. That practical angle helps explain why military and aviation authorities care about even non-exotic explanations. When pilots report objects that appear to move in unexpected ways, investigators must determine whether those reports reflect sensor errors, drones, or something that could endanger crews. That safety lens pushes agencies to act even without proof about origins. Looking forward, better instruments and clearer procedures will shape the next phase. If the public and policymakers push for investment, we will see more calibrated cameras, better radar networks, and protocols for sharing data with vetted scientists. Such investment would make the subject less about individual anecdotes and more about measurable events. Over time, that approach will reduce the number of unexplained cases and will move some remaining items into proper scientific or policy analysis. We should also expect more hearings and public reporting. When high-profile claims appear, lawmakers ask questions. That pattern will continue as new information surfaces. The balance policymakers must strike is between protecting sensitive national security data and offering enough information to satisfy legitimate scientific and public curiosity. Finding that balance is a political and technical problem. The path chosen will determine how much the public learns and how much remains within closed systems. So thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.